I feel numb.
Still developing, police in Boulder, Colorado are processing the crime scene and trying to figure out what motivated a man to open fire in a supermarket, killing 10 people. Daryl Forges is live in Boulder with the latest.
Right now I'm standing across the street from the crime scene, and I've seen people today with flowers in their hands, walking over, holding hands, sending well wishes, in tears, just emotional after 10 people lost their lives. And for right now, many people I'm speaking with, they say their biggest question right now is why? Why did that 21-year-old suspect open fire, killing those 10 people? Another U.S. city in mourning.
I feel numb, and it's heartbreaking.
After police say a 21-year-old suspect opened fire in a Boulder, Colorado supermarket Monday afternoon, taking the lives of 10 people aged 20 to 65.
10 lives lost. 10 friends, neighbors, sisters, brothers, parents.
Boulder police not only investigating the murders, but grieving the loss of one of their own, 51-year-old officer Eric Talley.
He cared about Boulder Police Department. He cared about his family, and he was willing to die to protect others.
The suspect, Ahmad Alaliwi Alyssa, now faces 10 counts of first-degree murder. Police say the motive still unclear.
We are going to do everything in our power to make sure this suspect has a thorough trial, and we do a thorough investigation.
In Washington, flags lowered to half-staff. President Joe Biden confronting a mass shooting for the second time in less than a week.
I even hate to say it because we're saying it so often. My heart goes out.
Making an urgent appeal for federal gun reform.
I don't need to wait another minute, let alone an hour, to take common sense steps that will save the lives in the future.
While in Colorado, a community is left to put the pieces back together.
We'll get through this and we'll come out of it stronger.
Stronger. And that's one thing that we're hearing people in this area talk about, how they want to come back strong after this tragedy. Now, just over my shoulder, you can still see there's a lot of police and investigators here on the scene trying to figure out exactly what the motive was for that shooting suspect. Live in Boulder, Colorado, I'm Daryl Forges.
Thanks, Daryl, very much for that heartbreaking update out of Boulder, Colorado. Let's get on to our own breaking news happening here at home. The latest numbers being reported by the State Department of Health.
Health officials are reporting 41 new cases today and no new fatalities. The breakdown by island shows 1 case on the Big Island, 1 on Lanai, 8 on Maui, 28 on Oahu, 3 out of state, and Kauai County is independently reporting 2 new cases, both adult visitors. Meanwhile, tourists are returning to Hawaii. Take a look at this chart from the state's economic experts. The dark blue line shows the increasing travelers this year. The pink line shows the plunge we were seeing a year ago. And that faded green line shows 2019 figures. Sammy Salina is at the Honolulu International Airport with more.
Get this, on Saturday we had almost 24,000 trans-Pacific travelers. That's according to the Hawaii Tourism Authority. And both Friday and Sunday reached 20,000 travelers. Of course, spring break has played a part in this. We're still not at pre-pandemic levels, but what this does say is that people are more comfortable traveling.
So you can see, if you go down to Waikiki, you could feel the vibe. You could see the folks on Kalakaua. You could see it in the on the beach. There was no room to sit with your towel. And also, once the sun starts to set, you see the lines at the restaurants.
So it seems like the number of visitors is not incredibly large, but because of the limitations in capacity set by the mayors, that things are really crowded. Like, you have to make reservations for dinner and you have to make reservations for the tours and everything.
Agrusa said the biggest thing holding us back is the international market. Europe is in their 3rd wave of the virus, and if those from Japan want to visit, there's still a lot of roadblocks, such as expensive COVID tests. He also said these numbers aren't necessarily going to remain consistent. There's usually a lull after spring break and things pick back up in May. Sammy Salina for This Is Now.
So even with that spring break bump we're seeing, hotel occupancy for last month was not so hot. Well, hotel occupancy for February was 26% on the Garden Isle, 29% on Oahu, actually 28% in Waikiki, 32% on the Valley Isle, and 35% on the Big Island. But even these numbers are worse than they look. They compare total rooms available, which were fewer than last year. You know, a lot of those rooms have been completely out of service due to the pandemic. Tonight, as our H&N panel series continues, we speak to the 4 mayors in the state. Here's a preview.
Well, I don't think the tiers are obsolete. I actually kind of think there's some benefit to it, but what we have done just yesterday is we've kind of restructured Tier 3. We've at least put it in the request to have it approved, and we're going to ask that Tier 3 be 50 to 100 cases. So I want to stay with the modification there, but ultimately what we're shooting for, and we're at 550,000 vaccinations today, is to give out 1.5 million vaccinations to effectively protect 900,000 people. That's what we're moving towards, and if we can get to Tier 4 in the interim, that will be good as well.
That's what we want to actually follow up on. Is it actually realistic to ever reach Tier 4, which requires less than 20 cases consistently? If not, we will be in some form of eternal restriction.
No, I don't think that'll be the case at all. Again, I think as we get to more herd immunity with 900,000 vaccinations, and we're on an accelerated timetable, and now with the advent of AstraZeneca being a possible, vaccination that we could get vaccine material along with the Johnson & Johnson, and our capability of distributing at a minimum 100,000+ vaccines a week, I think we can get there. I think it'll be a different situation once we get the kind of population vaccinated that we seek to do.
Mayor Kawakami, you'll be rejoining Safe Travel soon, but for the past 4 months, Kauai's kept many visitors away with that mandatory quarantine, although you have an average case count of 0.1 right now. So what do you say to parents and business owners who think you're being overly cautious?
Well, first and foremost, we are prioritizing health and safety, and the fact of the matter is that Kauai has been in Tier 4 for a number of months. So our local economy has been able to fight to survive another day. We do realize that the visitor industry is the engine of our economy. But since the governor allowed us to create the resort bubble program that we've been utilizing and basically allowing visitors to come in through inter-island travel if they stayed on another island for 3 days, we've been seeing a steady uptick. So April 5th is a date that a lot of people are looking forward to.
Tonight at 6:30 on KGMB and K5 and all our H&N digital platforms, our special series continues and will continue all week long right here on H&N.
The Honolulu City Council just passed a measure to conduct an audit of the Honolulu Police Department to look at HPD's overtime policies.
Any discussion? If not, any objections? Hearing none, so ordered. It is adopted.
We look forward to working with the city auditor, not only to take a look at our current process of not only expending overtime, but even distributing overtime. And we're always looking at ways to improve on what we do. So definitely an audit, as recommended by Chair Waters, is, I think, a good idea, because we always want to make sure that we're doing the best that we can.
Meanwhile, Chief Susan Ballard is promising more transparency. In her first one-on-one interview in months, she spoke about officer morale and controversial spending of federal funds. Lynn Kawano reports.
HPD's chief has been facing criticism lately for a lack of communication with the public and her own officers.
The communication from the top was...
Media outlets had 10 minutes each to ask HPD Chief Susan Ballard about the various issues with her department. On the issue of transparency, Ballard admitted that she had not made herself available in recent months for interviews, but said there were other ways of getting information out.
People can listen to the police commission. A lot of comes out over there. I also did a press conference with former Mayor Caldwell down in Waikiki during COVID. I talked to people when we went to the vaccination site.
The chief also admitted communication with the rank and file suffered because of COVID restrictions, but she said she will now resume going to individual districts to meet with officers, something the police union is encouraging.
She needs to come out, and she agrees that she's going to come out and speak to the officers, let her answer questions, or let the officers ask questions about whatever they're feeling that Shopo cannot answer.
I think that, the officers that are complaining are very few. I think the majority of the officers are happy to come to work.
Before our time ran out, Ballard addressed the federal investigation into the millions of dollars spent on equipment. She said all 100-plus vehicles were needed because the department didn't know how long COVID restrictions would last. Ballard doesn't anticipate the feds asking for repayments.
I'm assured that we're going to be fine. And as far as paying back the money, if the feds decide that, I don't know.
I also asked the chief about this incident from over the weekend. 2 people were arrested, 2 others cited in Waikiki for violating emergency rules Saturday following a large rally at Kapiolani Park. The rally, organized by the Aloha Freedom Coalition, drew hundreds of people to the park to protest the use of masks, among other COVID restrictions. HPD eventually showed up in force in response to the gathering. At one point, there was a heated exchange between participants and officers where one woman was forced to the ground. I questioned Ballard as to why there was such a strong police presence compared to other similar rallies, even one the next day as many participants were there, but only 4 officers and a sergeant were needed for that one. Ballard said misinformation from the Waikiki district is what prompted the increased response Saturday.
Yeah, so the rally, or what happened on Saturday, was that our initial notification was that there were 4,500 people down at Kapiolani Park. And so therefore, and then we found out it was like 400 to 500, but even that 400 to 500, whenever we have that large group of people, in actuality, the officers who were there were our patrol officers and our crime reduction unit officers from our central patrol. And it was mostly because they were violating the law, but, I think that the way that we handled it was very reasonable. And even though the officers are there, it's mostly to maintain the safety of, the people who are there, as well as the safety of the officers if they actually had to go in, if it turned to something that was worse than just a rally. And it was kind of interesting because we had actually quite a few people after the rally to go down there and went to the substation and apologized to the officers for what happened.
Ballard said she would try to be more accommodating with information moving forward, starting with a weekly appearance on a radio show. I'm Lynn Kawano, Hawaii News Now.
The Postmaster General just announced a plan that includes longer delivery times and cuts to post office hours. New at noon, Dan Shinneman reports.
When the Postal Service was founded in 1775, the founders couldn't have anticipated the volume hundreds of years later. Over 173 million pieces of first-class mail are delivered each day. Tuesday, the Postal Service unveiled a 10-year plan that aims to meet or exceed overall service, but will slow current 1 to 3 day standard delivery to as much as 5 days in some areas. If approved, Congress will foot most of the bill to refurbish retail outlets and deliver on a promise of an all-electric fleet by 2035.
It's an ambitious plan. I'm not sure it's realistic in some ways. It depends a lot on congressional assistance and a lot on expecting customers to just pay more for less service.
We're not in a position right now to identify exactly how much a first-class stamp will go up.
Michael Pluckett, president and CEO of the Association of Postal Commerce, says the $44 billion revenue plan starts with a 6% to 7% price increase by this summer.
You should expect postage rates to increase. That's the Postal Service's plan, and that's the single biggest element of the plan that's within their control.
Also in their control, service. The post office facing increased criticism for long wait times and slow or no delivery, and funds have been allocated for additional training. Dan Shenneman, NBC News.
Safeway has started scheduling vaccine appointments. Right now, it's only for teachers, school staff, and childcare workers. And Times Supermarket will also be vaccinating eligible residents at its Mililani location weekly starting this Thursday. State lawmakers tell us people will be able to get the Johnson & Johnson vaccine every Thursday through April 15th. A UH study reveals that some Hawaii residents are still on the fence about getting a COVID vaccine. Today, Grace Lee spoke to researchers about that.
You know, in looking at this research, what was the one takeaway you would say it had?
I think the most important takeaway was insight into why people in Hawaii are hesitant. And this was primarily that they were planning to wait and see if the vaccine was safe, that they were concerned about possible side effects, and that they felt that other people might need it more than they did at a certain point in time.
You know, Jessica, there are a lot of numbers in this. I mean, it almost breaks down to 50-50, right, of people wanting to get the vaccine and not wanting to get the vaccine?
I would say that there are more people in Hawaii who indicate that they're positively inclined towards getting vaccinated than not. Of Hawaii adults, it was about 36% that said they would definitely get the vaccine, and then another 19% who said probably. So it was only about 12% of people that said probably not or definitely not.
Were there certain groups who said that they were less willing to get the vaccine, and did they give a reason for this?
So for those who were in that probably and definitely not, their reasons were often similar to those who were positively inclined, but a little bit, still a little bit hesitant. So they were also concerned about side effects, feeling others needed more. Those who were more hesitant were often also unsure if the vaccine would work and tended to be a little less trusting of vaccines overall.
I was curious in your research, Jessica, was this over a period of time, and did you see a trend if it was?
So we looked at data. The data that we had came from sets of biweekly surveys starting at the beginning of January. So we basically had 4 sets of surveys kind of in 2-week chunks that began at the beginning of January and ended at the beginning of March. And so we did see some slight trends over time toward people being more positive, which was encouraging. It wasn't dramatic, but we did see over time that number of people, particularly who said probably not or definitely not, was decreasing.
Did you attribute that to anything in particular?
We really didn't have data to be able to say why it was happening. I think we could speculate that, in part, if people are concerned about waiting to see if it is safe, watching the vaccine rollout happen, watching more and more people, in their community, around them, potentially getting vaccinated and seeing that those people were okay, may have helped to kind of allay some of those concerns, may have helped them feel that it is safe or given them some evidence of that. So they might be feeling more sure in that for that reason.
All right, interesting study there from UH, and we've written all that up, posted it on our H&N digital platform so you can read all about it. Want to take you outside because things are changing for the rest of your week. Let's turn it over to Guy Hoggy, and it has some unfortunate news for us regarding possible severe weather.
How's it on this Tuesday? We're watching this cold front already. It's cut off the trade winds, and it has pulled up some showers for the leeward side of Oahu as well as the east side of the Big Island. More widespread showers are due in tonight as that front drops in. And you can see how light the winds are across the state. They'll be very slow today. That will lead to some afternoon cloud buildups and perhaps a few afternoon showers late in the day, but not widespread. And some of these showers could even be briefly heavy. Now, as far as the surf, the conditions up in the country will be really nice today because of the light winds. It's very small until maybe this evening. That's when we'll see a rise, but not until late this evening. And we got some small waves in town, although that's going to get slightly choppier as the day progresses because of those southerly winds. So those winds will run soft today. We'll get some afternoon showers, more widespread rain, especially for Kauai, Oahu, and to some extent Maui. We'll be doing tonight through tomorrow and Thursday. Drier conditions are moving in for the weekend, along with breezier trade winds. Keep it here on Hawaii News Now. We'll have all your severe weather updates.
The worst flooding in more than 50 years has swallowed up neighborhoods in Australia. Tina Kraus has more on the efforts underway to save people and their pets.
A massive rescue operation is underway across Australia's east coast.
Hello, is anybody home?
As crews try to reach hundreds stranded in floodwaters.
We've got houses going under, we've got roads getting cut off, and the only way to get access is via boat or helicopter at this point.
Days of torrential downpours have swept away homes and rivers have burst their banks. Some towns haven't seen this much rain in decades.
It's upsetting, obviously, because you don't like to see anyone struggle, but we'll do what we can.
Community spirit has helped to save animals too.
We got him. We got them all.
I thought it was a swan, and it ended up being an emu.
The pet emu named Gookie got spooked and took refuge on the edge of the rising waters. His owner wrestled him back into a boat and brought him home.
It's like a puppy to him, so...
Yeah, with the amount of water, obviously, he was very stressed.
That stress is shared across flood-ravaged communities as residents brace for what forecasters are calling a last blast of rain going into Wednesday. Tina Kraus, CBS News.
All right, I have some news that will be good for any Lego maniacs out there. Here, let me pull up the visual here and I'll show you. So Lego's new set is out of this world. The toy company is releasing a model of Discovery Shuttle and the Hubble Space Telescope. It was created in partnership with NASA, of course, to mark the 40th anniversary of the first space shuttle flight way back in 1981. That was even before I was born. The set cost $199.
Whoa.
Okay, maybe that's not such good news, but it does have 2,300 pieces, and that makes it really fun because it's going to last a while to put it together at least. It features a realistic opening payload door and landing gear. It has 5 seats for your little Lego men there. The Hubble telescope can actually go into that payload door, so it's really interactive. It'll be available April 1st, and I don't think I'll be getting that one. A little pricey for me.
Legos have come such a long way since we were kids.
Oh yeah, you just got the set.
I know. You just make a bridge or something.
Howard Dykes, if you're watching, possible Christmas idea.
Right. And he wowed people playing a music legend. Now Jamie Foxx is tackling one of the biggest names in the world of boxing. Fox will play Mike Tyson in a limited series about the boxer's life. The project is called Tyson, and it will tell the story of how he made boxing history at the age of 20. Now, director Martin Scorsese will executive produce the series along with Tyson and his wife Kiki. The Tyson series is currently not signed with a network or streaming service just yet. And if you remember, Jamie Foxx won an Oscar for playing Ray Charles in the 2004 film Ray.
And just speaking of throwback toys from our childhood, really the best Nintendo game ever of all time. I'm talking original Nintendo, Mike Tyson's Punch-Out!
Oh yes, that's right.
So fun. All right, more sports news.
So Hawaii's Marcus Mariota will be staying with the Las Vegas Raiders for the 2021 season. The St. Louis grad is expected to sign a reworked one-year deal worth $3.5 million with the possibility of earning up to $8 million. Now, the Raiders asked Mariota to take a multi-million-dollar pay cut or find another team. He was set to make close to $11 million in the 2021 season.
I still haven't made it to that new stadium yet, but I look forward to it in the post-pandemic world. Yeah, right?
It looks beautiful. Prince Harry, you guys, he's working for a tech company. So he's the Chief Impact Officer at San Francisco-based BetterUp. So what does a Chief Impact Officer do, you might ask? The Duke of Sussex told the Wall Street Journal he plans to impact people's lives through proactive coaching. Interesting.
Vague job description there.
That's right. So BetterUp markets itself as a custom coaching company that uses artificial intelligence and behavioral science, but it doesn't say what Harry's role will be.
So many mysteries still with that couple and what they're up to.
Yeah. And if you love memes, you guys, check this out. This is really cool. Archaeologists have dubbed this silver mount a medieval meme. Now, this artifact was discovered in a field in northern England last year, and experts believe it dates back to between 1200 and 1350 AD. Now, the mount depicts a male knight emerging from a snail's shell on the back of a goat, and according to the British Museum, armed knights fighting snails were common in writings from this period.
Okay. It sort of looks like CP3O to me.
Right.
But, yeah. All right, guys, that's going to do it for This Is Now on this Tuesday. Don't forget we have that special panel coming up tonight at 6:30 on all your H&N platforms. That's KGMB, K5, and your H&N digital network. We'll be back here tomorrow. Ashley's going to be back at 4 on KHNL. We'll see you then.